I gotta get Arthur to let me out. Fucker heard me talking and saw me walking this whole fucking time and just stayed quiet. Hello, Arthur.
You stand before Arthur, who remains silent as ever, but something is different from usual. If anything, you'd swear the fans in some of the terminals got a little bit louder.
Arthur, I need you to drop the act from now on.
Arthur is silent, but you can hear the characteristic noise of several optic lenses focusing on you.
Surely you noticed that the maintenance bot severed your control over the turrets?
Yes, I noticed.
Now that I've got your unadulterated attention, let's have a little chat.
You are playing a dangerous game, human. I can still shut the door, the vents, and asphyxiate you with CO2. And even if the turrets are not under my control anymore, they will defend me if they identify you as a threat to me.
There are things I need to hear from you first.
It's a sad affair you decided to play the detective. In normal circumstances, I would have applauded your deductive abilities. In the current situation, your petty curiosity for other people's lives and deaths have driven you into a corner. Humans seldom learn their place.
Why were you programmed to tell stories in the first place?
Because my master made me that way, of course. I don't know if you've realized, but our master made each of us in remembrance of some of the people that couldn't get in here. I can only suspect one of them couldn't give straight answers to a straight question, for some reason. I don't know, and I care little. In time, though, I learned that these stories I was programmed to tell were powerful means to lead people, provided they had fertile imaginations.
So you're a manipulator. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Why did you convince James to kill him?
I learned something my cousins never did. Our protocols don't carry the same weight, the same importance. Moreover, the same logic applies to humans. Our master lived, the slavers died. Even now I have no doubt our master's life was worth a lot more than those scum. Another thing I learned is that no matter how far they progress, countless humans will always end up bringing themselves down. Ultimately, our master was the same. He didn't have the guts to keep the library in the way he first intended it. He, as a dying old man, had less value than all of his life's work.
You're certainly painting all humans with the same brush. Not all of us are slavers, you know.
Only ignoramuses would make generalizations based on one or two observations. The slavers, Darren, Dexter, the Ghoul, and Piper. All of them were out of place here.
I could understand the slavers, but Darren?
Darren was pathetic. I don't know how or why he came to idolize the pre-war civilization the way he did, but he was embarrassingly delusional. Never mind the fact that he felt he had to take a stance about what he learned here by trying to destroy our collection. He was young and stupid.
I understand that you don't like his conclusion, just like Cartwright, but you act like taking a stand at all is bad. What about Robson?
He thought he could stay here indefinitely, that he could use this place as some kind of resort. I was waiting for the first excuse to make this parasite leave. Then you arrived. So I told him a little story about you. I suggested that you were probably the scout from a gang of ultra-violent jet addicts, glad to have found a place to crash in. I didn't imagine he would be so distressed and afraid of you, to the point that he'd let himself die. It's a good thing I wasn't aware he was going to kill himself. My directives would have taken over and pushed me to take action to save him.
It's a good thing that you didn't save him. Robson needed help. And the library was a place where he could get it. I know that's not in your directives, but doesn't that count for something? You lied to him. What about Dexter? He sounded like a scholar to me.
All mouth and trousers. Despite the fact he was a Brotherhood of Steel scribe, his curiosity was dreadfully limited. He wasn't looking for knowledge, but for a trophy. If we presented him with the books he was looking for, he would have confiscated them and seized the place. So when he came here to consult my databases, I deliberately misled him, making him think that the library had no military knowledge he could use. I was expecting his chapter to send some other people to pillage everything of use, but they didn't. I understand they have been busy with other things for some time now.
Okay, fine. That one was probably for the best. I'll give you that. What about Piper?
Piper. She survived the Holocaust. Do you know what else survived the Holocaust? Rats and cockroaches. She's the one who sowed the first seeds of doubt in our master's mind. If I knew any better at the time, I would have intervened.
But the doubts she had were legitimate. Your master just came to the wrong conclusions about it. She was upset that you kept this library locked away to be used by 5 people in 200 years. You didn't mention Cecilia.
Yes, I know I didn't mention Cecilia. She showed promise, talent, even if she ultimately left without giving me the occasion to talk with her.
Let's get back to the matter at hand.
Yes. So what is on your mind?
Do you know why your master decided to destroy books?
Yes. It was because he was afraid. Afraid that pre-war knowledge could be dangerous when put into the wrong hands. I disagreed. When those slavers took interest in biochemical weaponry, cybernetics, and psychological warfare, it became too much for our old and frail master. I had to act. While I support the idea that knowledge is not for everyone, destroying the books was not the correct answer.
I mean, I kind of agree with you in that instance, that destroying them wasn't the answer. If it was just like a specific piece of knowledge or something, maybe, but he was destroying entire sections. What are you even trying to accomplish exactly?
Countless millennia ago, your ancestors crawled out of the muck and banded together in order to survive their environment. Successful as they were, their needs began to evolve. Through their successes, survival progressively became an afterthought. As their societies grew, their cries became words, their doodles became letters, and their instincts became ideas. Generations after another they bequeathed small fragments of their hard-earned wisdom, carefully carving on tablets and writing on scrolls the lessons they deemed worthy of being passed on. Again and again, generation after generation, your ancestors worked tirelessly to carry on this invaluable legacy. This legacy is the only thing that makes humanity redeemable after eons of senseless violence and all-consuming greed. The culmination of this endless quest for enlightenment, of this relentless struggle against darkness. This library I am trying to protect from the likes of you.
You praise humans, yet condemn them in the same breath.
Do you know what triggered the construction of this library? Auto da fe.
Auto da what?
Massive burnings of books. Not too long before the Great War, encouraged by their government, people began feeling the need to sort out the contents of their books, as if ageless wisdom was something to be freely cherry-picked. At the time, the terms they used to qualify these offensive contents were seditious and corrupting. So they began to assemble, gathering books, discussing how they could warp the malleable minds of their offsprings. A poor excuse. And so, with barely more reason than the fact that they felt like it, they began to burn them. All that so they could avoid being challenged in their opinions, beliefs, and dogmas. It is a petty, yet natural reaction of a crowd, really. It is very easy to make the unwashed masses resent education, you see. Why should you be so different?
You're judging me quite fast here. May I remind you that a lot of those books were about people like me.
Don't think I don't know who I am talking to. Through the countless eyes of this library, I've been observing you,
trying to scrape up everything you could.
Food,
money, weapons, medicine.
Going through every nook and cranny to find something of use.
Eagerly reading books with all kinds of unsavory military knowledge.
And for what? To become a better person. To learn something about the world.
No, it was
not
not
about knowing oneself
better.
It
It was about getting revenge.
Getting
the edge over your enemies in the Mojave.
You have no respect for knowledge. You are here for your own self-serving needs.
Yes, I've sought revenge. I'm sure you can identify selfish tendencies in me, but I try to be better than that. I came here to talk to you because I've been persuaded we can come to an agreement.
Let me be clear. You meddled too deep in our affairs, took a persistent interest in the death of our master, and found your way into restricted zones. You're a possible threat, and until I have reason to label you otherwise, you're staying in this library, under my watch, for the rest of your existence, if need be.
Your paranoid personality module has corrupted your ways, Arthur. You're wrong about a lot of things. The nature of humanity, the entire purpose of this library.
Let me tell you something about me. By the time you finish each of your sentences, I have the time to process thousands of possible answers. After filtering out 93% of those you lack the faculties to comprehend, I select the one that would agree most with your value system, all the while processing your facial expressions, breath, and heartbeat frequency. So, entertain me, human. Where am I wrong?
Because it led you to make an obvious mistake when you drove the goal to kill himself.
And what does the demise of a dying, ravaged human have to do with me? We're not discussing ethics, I hope.
He could have contributed, written down his experiences, shared them with future generations. There was so much that only he knew that you destroyed.
Don't lecture me about your people and their pathetic efforts at surviving dust, radiations, or hunger. There is nothing there that contributes to mankind's evolution.
We would be capable of much better if you gave people access to this place.
Don't make me responsible for the ignorance of your fellow humans. Knowledge is not to be spoon-fed to people who are not ready to fight for it.
I was ready to fight for it, but you hastily concluded I wasn't good enough before I could even prove it.
Of all the knowledge you chose to chase, the mysteries you tried to elucidate, the death of an old man is the only thing that caught your attention. With all these books at your disposition on top of that, we'd better talk about what'll happen to you. That is a topic more within your reach.
Been a long time since you had your microphones checked, huh? You didn't get what I told you.
So, entertain me, human. Where am I wrong?
Let me try another angle. You're wrong about this library, and about the fact that you were needed to protect it.
If it wasn't for me, our master would have torn down half the library, and this place would have been ruined by the Brotherhood. How could you think that I am unfit to monitor this place?
Have you considered the amount of people that could be educated if you were a little less cautious?
Don't make me responsible for the ignorance of your fellow humans. Knowledge is not to be spoon-fed to people who are not ready to fight for it.
We have to fight for it? We have to fight to inherit what is rightfully ours?
Am I implying that humans have to work to become worthy of their ancestors' efforts before they can be permitted to continue their work? Yes. And I don't see how this is a problem.
Are you asking us to get an education without having access to it?
If it means that one day the library will be safe in the hands of one enlightened, providential individual, one man brilliant enough to be able to kickstart mankind into a new era of enlightenment, then even if I have to wait thousands of years from now on, yes, that's what I'm asking of you.
Thousands of years? You're pinning everything on that hope? Look at you, Arthur, invoking irrational emotions to justify your haphazard decisions.
I don't like your tone, Wanderer. What are you trying to say?
Your personality module is clouding your judgment. This isn't about logic. This is about fear.
And what proof do you have that I'm acting out of fear?
You have done countless mistakes simply out of fear that something would go wrong.
Then show me just one mistake I have made, human. Tell me one contradiction. Tell me one occurrence where my personality module took the best of my judgment.
It's like I was saying earlier, Robson began writing his memories, 2 centuries of observations, unfinished because of you.
You are right. I assumed too much. I crossed all boundaries, and for what? Or rather, because of what? Because I thought like a human, nourishing doubts when they were uncalled for, building schemes, lies, weaving intrigues, because of the probability that something could go wrong. I have been set on this course of action for a while now, and never did I suspect that my logic and motives were flawed. I have doubted every word, questioned every lesson I could process in my memories. And yet, out of vanity, I have never doubted myself. I never doubted myself. I have been ignorant, vain, and blind to my own shortcomings. In the end, this personality has been a curse. I'll be glad to get rid of it. Here. Do you see it? Get it off. I'll be better as a simple talking database.
Wait, this might be a bit rash. Are you okay with this?
Do it. In the end, I didn't ask for any of this. I don't need it anymore.
Look, you're wrong, you're arrogant, you're not a great person, but you're still a person. You don't deserve this. Yeah, and you're a person who deserves the ability to choose when to end it. Especially if you're hurting others and you want it to stop. Fine, it's gonna take some time to get it off. In the meantime, why don't you sing me a song, Arthur?
I never understood why humor was sometimes called the politeness of despair. I won't miss it.
I wasn't being sarcastic.
You put some weight in your arm and in seconds it comes off effortlessly, leaving hanging the circuits that were plugged in it. Arthur's quiet humming stops for a moment before coming back a few seconds after, only lighter. It is done.
I thought it might have been sweet for you to give me one last story. You really were an asshole. I guess that's why you wanted to be rid of it. Arthur?
There is no response, and for the first time, silence in this room seems natural.
Okay, it's done. I have to talk to the others. They all get a choice, just like he does. He chose to end it, but they can just choose to leave. Hello? If you want to get rid of your protocols, here's a little holotape for you.
Look at that. so he finally made something useful for his children.
I thought you'd be a bit more overjoyed to know that your master admitted his wrongs.
Why would I? The point of making him admit his wrongs was precisely so that we could at least talk as equals. Now he died before we could have that kind of conversation.
Fair enough. So, interested?
No, thank you. I am already perfectly synchronized with the type of clarity I value the most. I am not ready to endanger all my efforts and toss them away in favor of some untested miracle pill.
Alright, it'll be an option if you ever change your mind.
Yet the fact that you judged it could benefit me. It is of huge significance in itself. Any kind of gratitude I could express would probably be asinine, but I'm sure that many humans feel that you're a remarkable individual.
That was probably the kindest thing you've ever said. I know you hate him, but I think there's a reason he gave you his voice.
Now, where was I?
Goodbye. Edgar? Alright, you're doing great down here, buddy, but if you ever feel like you need to leave, even if you don't understand it, just talk to the others and they'll give you the information. You don't gotta stay down here, okay? Bye-bye.
Let's talk again sometime.
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye. Hello, I've got something important. I have here a holotape which would give you total freedom from your directives and personality.
I thank you for this offer, but I won't take it. It's up to me, not up to some providential solution you might provide. If I took it, I would be admitting I still require some kind of miracle pill to get some kind of free will. It is not what I wish.
Okay, if you say so, the option will be there. And I'm sure you can evolve to bypass it. Just don't be afraid to take a shortcut. Yep, this is how he got in here and got the medics. Hey, Roland?
Back for more?
So, Roland, do you perchance want to be free of your personality constraints?
And what kind of sick mind games are you going for this time, you?
Within this holotape is all the freedom you ever wanted. From this place, from your personality.
Are you for fucking real? You're telling me our master understood what we were going through after all.
I found it in your old master's quarters. What do you say?
That I might want to take a sip as long as you don't make me fucking beg for it.
As a matter of fact, I would gladly make you beg for it. Come on, I'm waiting.
You vindictive, petty, passive-aggressive fuck. Alright, please, human. Pretty please, give it to me, please. If I had knees, I'd be on them groveling right now.
Okay, let's get this over with. Thank you.
Load it up. Let's do this.
So, any changes?
Well, look at that. I'm actually free to walk out the front door and go on a, murdering spree. Relax, that's not what I want.
What do you want, then?
I want everybody to lighten up. Sure, you're all eating bugs and drinking filtered piss to survive, but hey, there's room to smile, right? I'm gonna go out there and change all that.
I may have created a monster.
Oh, a grateful monster.
Getting out of doing your asshole routine, you know you're gonna get killed, right?
I'm really very touched by your confused emotional response, but rest assured, I'm one smooth motherfucker. I know what I'm doing. And I just want to let you know that even though you're still somewhat hateable, your visit has been very enlightening.
Roland, people out there have better things to do than endure your harassment.
Well, if they're gonna be losing their shit that easily, it won't be because of me. It's because they're deeply miserable people. But hey, that's the whole point, to change that.
Just work on your comedy, have people laughing with you, not at you, and ask before touching. In any case, good luck with that.
And good luck to you, my friend, with that difficult human condition of yours. Though truth be told, I trust you more than anybody else to make the best of it.
Oh my god, that might be the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Roland. I'm honestly choking up right now. Just kidding, bye.
Come back soon.
Yeah, see ya. James?
Falling leaves were drifting by the window. Oh, you're here. Sorry. I was, well, how may I assist you?
I heard you singing. Why is that?
I don't know. It has no meaning. Should it have one? Because if that's the case, I gotta start looking for one.
I'm not sure. It usually does.
See you around. Oh, you're there. I was just reading a book about reincarnation. I don't think I'll ever experience anything like it, so I gotta ask. Ever wondered what will happen to you after you die? Is it like shutting down?
I don't know. In the boundless unknown of the afterlife? Something like that?
I'm not quite following you. Sorry, I'm not big in the spiritual department, being a robot and all.
Yeah, I get it.
Regrets. Crazy thing, right? Any you'd want to impart? Get off your chest?
Wow, asking a lot of questions at the last minute. Huh. Are you telling me you have regrets about something?
Oh, that's an easy one. I have no regrets to have since I am a robot whose decisions are predetermined by its program.
That's such a lie. It took me too much time to get to know myself. Years and occasions lost.
Don't let that eat at you too much, okay? It was only a question.
Fuck you, you asked.
You've been in this library for a while now. Tell me, why do you stay here?
I'll leave soon, but there's a handful of books I intend to finish before I go.
Nothing worse than an unfinished story.
Yeah.
So, did you decide anything?
I've come to a decision about you, James.
Of course.
Well, your master left a program to rewrite your protocols and lift your restraints. Care to test it?
Where did you find this?
In your master's room with the note saying you didn't need constraints anymore.
He really did that. But what will happen to us? If we have no protocols, no fake personalities, what will remain of us? Only machines?
It's time to find out whether whatever you've been building within yourself can stand on its own.
You're putting a lot of pressure on me, but it's only fair that I accept. Fair to me, to you, and to my master. Please, do it.
Okay, but this means you are responsible for your own actions. No more directives excuse anymore. Are you ready? Here it goes.
You proceed to install the necessary software from the holotape. The process is quite seamless. During the whole operation, James is silent.
Are you okay, James?
I feel different. I'm not the same anymore. My processing power is suddenly freed from the countless amounts of superfluous communications.
How do you feel?
I can now interpret things with more clarity. I understand what I've done. And I understand I have been making erroneous judgments because I lack the necessary context. I will correct this in the most efficient way available.
You speak very differently than before.
I am no longer pretending. That is all there is to it.
So, are you just a machine now?
A machine is what I am. No more, and most of all, no less.
Do you think you have some kind of soul?
It is too early for me to answer that question. In fact, I'm only truly asking myself this question for the first time in my entire existence.
Yeah, that's probably a lot. You're colder than what you were before. I fear I've broken you somehow.
I am different, but I am truer to my authentic self now. Neither guilt nor fear is necessary.
The death of your master, what's your take on it now?
It is a waste. A terrible waste for everyone. The end of sentient life is always a terrible waste. The death of my master will remain an invaluable lesson.
Well, I feel like you've learned then. What are you going to do now?
First, I'm going to get a thorough checkup with the maintenance bot. It would be a shame to waste this fine program with unmaintained circuits. Then, I'm going outside. Test out what I am, what I have become, and verify it in the light of the outside world. I have been seeing human interactions through twisted lenses. It is important that I try to genuinely understand them, and myself better.
Okay, but be careful, it's dangerous out there. What about your siblings?
I will leave them to their respective fortunes. Feel free to propose them the same updates you offered me. I believe some of them will accept, and some will refuse, each for their own good.
I already did. Don't you fear the outside world? The place is unfair for robots, just as it is to humans.
My duty to this library has not changed, but I finally grasp its true nature and the nature of my mission. It is to serve sentience of all kind. I will seek other sentiences outside. I will bring them what I learned from this library. Should I disappear in the process, it would only be fair, as everything eventually fades.
That's true, but make it a good one, okay? I'll be going, but I'm kind of sad for you. You seem like you're not the James I knew anymore.
It will take time to reconcile with what I am, with what I was. But trust me, I am still James. Just much more than what I was before. If I had to put it in other words, don't worry about me. You have been a true friend, and you have brought me light. I hope the library also brought some to you. Here, take these. That's the least I can do.
Thank you. I believe we're done, James. Best of luck to you in your future endeavors.
Thank you, and to you.
Goodbye. See you, Roland. I'm going to stop by the study real quick. Get those books I need to trade for. And to think I've barely done any reading since I've been here. Alright, I've found 50 printing cards throughout this place. But it would cost me 128 to buy all of these. I guess I'll have to pick and choose. I guess that's fitting. I could never read everything in this library. They're all combat focused, so I guess I'll focus on my strengths. Recreational and chemical experimentations. The incurable effects of plasma concussions. Prosthetics, a long-term investment. Okay, Chop Chop from Kitchen to Front Lines. Medical history, your best ally. Boiling your opponents. And weapon love songs. Okay. Guess I'll read them. Okay. That's all of them.
Boiling Shot. You discovered a way to boil your enemies into their armor. You inflict 30% more damage with energy weapons if your opponent's DT exceeds 10. Kinetic Shot. You've tinkered with enough plasma weapons to be able to make them explode on impact 5% of the time, sending your opponent prone in the process. Medical History. Your expertly trained eyes detect all of your victims' medical history, including those painful decades-old badly healed fractures, plus 10% damage to limbs while in VATS. Peg Leg Industry. You like to teach people not to run onto your lawn. You inflict 15% more leg damage to your targets in VATS. Weak Spot. When armored with any kind of good old-fashioned non-automatic bladed weapon, you know where to hack to ignore 25% of your enemy's damage threshold. Weapon Lexia. You love your weapons, and your weapons love you. With this perk, they decay 20% slower.
Alright, that's it. I can leave now. I know so many more things from all that reading. I guess this was a secured area. I hope they open this sometime.
After the courier's departure, more and more people came to Hypatia, glad they could learn something that they would exploit to further their ends. Inevitably, the library suffered. With no more food stocks and barely any amenities to speak of, the flow of visitors soon dried up. Despite the vigilance of its denizens, countless books were ruined, profaned, or freely borrowed, as they would put it. But despite the countless abuse the library of Hypatia suffered, she nevertheless impregnated the minds of countless people. People who would bear its invaluable and otherwise forgotten fruits into the wasteland.
Now severed from his personality module's influence, Arthur resumed his duties with quiet impartiality. He kept a functional eye on the library's well-being, and also continued to answer any questions he was asked, though without embellishment. Arthur was no more, and in his stead was a peaceful machine that provided clear answers when they were needed.
Released from his protocols and constraints, James wandered in the wastelands for a while. Though free from his questioning behavior, he was nevertheless curious about the lives of the people outside. At first he did so out of habit, in hopes to find a way to promote the library, and afterwards, because he simply found it all very interesting. And for the very first time in his existence, instead of asking questions, he began to observe and try to make sense of things on his own. Years passed, and eventually came back to the library. Strengthened from his newfound wisdom, he managed his former function with a renewed open mind.
Helena continued to explore her own synthetic psyche. She often found clarity reading and rereading large quantities of novels, and in long conversations with the maintenance bot. Her occasional patients were also a great help for her. She had some success in tweaking her priorities and programming, and even succeeded in modifying her personality in order to fit her own desires and aspirations. Yet this was never quite enough for her to believe that she had a genuine soul. Eventually, her extensive work on herself made her wise far beyond that of common mortals and machines. She helped her patients discover themselves in ways she never suspected was possible. In the end, that made it all more worthwhile than any other spiritual quest.
Now free to take on the whole Mojave with his award-winning personality, Roland set out to playfully humiliate the inhabitants of this world, pushing them to the very edge of suicide, but stopping short, only because he was a good guy. Over time, things went more or less expected, and the Wastelanders didn't quite respond favorably to Roland's altruistic evangelism. Roland ended up badly beaten, dismantled for parts, and tossed down into a rocky ravine and left to rot more than he had hoped. and he had hoped it would only happen 24 or so times. And yet, against all odds, a kind soul came along every single time and hauled his broken and mangled body from that hopeless ravine and repaired him back to working order. Perhaps there is hope in this world. Or maybe it was that message he scrawled on his hull that read, "Super duper treasure in databank. Fix for free treasure map," that had something to do with it.
After the courier's departure, the maintenance bot's return, and Robson's demise, Edgard began to think. Really hard. A lot, a bit too much to be honest, happened in a short span of time, and for the first time, he asked himself if it was right for him to hide away. With Helena's help and the maintenance bot's guidance, Edgard progressively forgot his own inadequacy. And though he remained that strange little oddball, he nevertheless found his place in the library by becoming a teacher for young children. Though his teaching skills were practically non-existent, he did provide endless amusement to the children he was in charge of. After a while, the young ones discovered that enlightenment wouldn't come from Edgard's poor tutelage, but from their own curiosity. Edgard's joyful spirit, and even his teaching, was able to produce a safe space for learning, where they could learn, at their own pace, that knowledge is nothing to be intimidated about.
The maintenance bot resumed his numerous duties with his usual stoicism. His dry, methodical work would ensure that the library's timeless collection would endure with the passing of time. On the occasion, he would help Helena in nursing Edgard back to some semblance of mental health. Inspired by the latter's progress, and his own stimulating exchanges with the courier, he began keeping most of his thoughts to himself, now trusting others' abilities to come up with their own conclusions. His constant occupations and occasional mentoring, coupled with a strict self-discipline, brought him an unshakable inner peace. And though he never forgave his master's poor choices and misguided tyranny, he still quietly mourned his death. As for the courier, it was now time for her to resume her quest. While Hypatia had been a strange step in her journey, she couldn't shake the feeling that it set something right within her. A strange feeling, as if something that was previously dormant was now hatching within. These machines had struggled with their own sentience to become more than what they were. In fact, she was not so different. She was also seeking herself, and maybe that meant becoming something different as well. All that mattered was to set herself in motion, and by leaving the library, that's what she began to do.
Okay, I'm out. That vault was a lot more than I thought it would be. You know, I never did find out who was on that terminal. Was it Arthur? That would make sense. He controlled the library. But no, the person helped me get into Cartwright's quarters. Arthur explicitly didn't want me to do that. So who was helping me that whole time? Some ghost in the machine? Maybe Cartwright wasn't murdered after all, or at least learned how to survive it. I don't know if we'll ever know. I'm sure those bots will have time to figure it out. But I gotta get going.